So we're going to start
we've
here.
Got Haze so far, but that's about it.
Yeah, you just greet folks. So we're going to start here in a minute and plunge into what it is that we're doing, but I'm still trying to get my screen up.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll see. I told my students about it too, so we'll see if any of them end up tuning in. So.
That would be awesome.
It would be fun, yeah, especially if we do end up putting our game out. I'm sure that I will use the club for free advertisement.
And that's a good thing for us to talk about. And Doc, Robert, I'm going to let you tell everybody a little bit about what Up from the Abyss is going to be while I step away and get Pixel to fix my phone.
Certainly. So, Out of the Abyss is an adventure that's officially released by Wizards of the Coast. It has been for a while. So, I'm not going to give too many spoilers since several of the players are already in here. But the adventure takes place in a large part in the Underdark. So, in the official campaign setting of Dungeons & Dragons, The Forgotten Realms, the Underdark is an extensive cave network that spans the entire continent. And because of that, all kinds of crazy things happen down there. Well, unfortunately for our players, things are a little extra crazy in the Underdark at the moment. So, the first goal of the players in Out of the Abyss is to return back to the surface, get back to their home world, or get back to wherever it is that they are from. And that is the first big arc of the story. And from there, it can take a couple of big turns, but it's a dangerous adventure. There's a lot of tough things can happen, but I've had a lot of fun. I've DM'd this adventure 4 or 5 times, and no two groups have attacked it the same way. So, yeah, that's Out of the Abyss, the adventure in 5th edition.
Fantastic. And I have played like a first little piece of it. We were going to run it with actually Vincent Page being the DM. Pixel was playing. I was playing 2 or 3 other folks, and life got in the way. And so we only barely started, and I have wanted to play it ever since just because I was intrigued. So I am excited about that, and I shared with Doc Robert that I would love to play this game because we were just talking about games people wanted to play, okay? And we even were asking suggestions for that. And he took me up on it, and so here we are. Now, as a player, I tend to begin to think about characters from the role-playing point of view because that's the part that I enjoy the most up till now. Is I'm all about the role play. And the mechanics, sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to hold on to them, and sometimes it's a little, I tend to make the decisions about what weapons and where I put the whatever, thinking about my character, their build, their race, and their backstory and whatever. So Doc Robert tonight is going to lead me through creating a character where we start with the mechanics and the backstory comes later. So I'll tell you the truth, I'm a blank page here, and I'm just waiting for you to fill me in, Doc Robert. So work your wiles on me. I'm eager to know.
All right. Well, I'm really excited to take a look at this. So I'm going to, my goal is I'm going to go in, we're going to look at, I know you had mentioned wanting to play a barbarian and a paladin, and I'm more than happy to go over those classes with you, but we might look at some other options too and see how you feel about them. So I'm going to give you the micro version of all of the classes that you haven't played, just to kind of explain what they do from a mechanical point of view.
Okay.
And then any of them that you're interested in, we can just go on from there.
Okay.
More than happy to do that, and I'm sure we'll find something that you really enjoy. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here.
Okay, now sharing the screen, that is, yes, got to go. Oh, no, I didn't have to go. There it is. We did it. Whoops.
Excellent. All right.
It popped into here. But wait a minute, if I'm going to watch it, I got to go to OBS to watch. Excuse me, Pixel's helping get me organized here.
So do a favor, if you right click, turn that volume all the way down. That way you won't hear a double of you. You'll hear him talking, but you won't hear anything that happens on the screen.
And then I minimize.
No, absolutely do not minimize. Click on OBS.
Okay, there we are. This could be
I
it.
can say the stream looks totally good from my end. Okay,
super dupe.
So, All right, so I'm going to use D&D Beyond for all of this. D&D Beyond is the tool that I use to run all of my games. It is an invaluable tool for me. So, and when you join my campaign, you'll get access to everything I own in D&D Beyond, and luckily for you, that's everything. I get the nice little "thank you, you own it all" notification.
Okay.
So that will be the case. So I want to check. You say you've played a cleric before, is that correct?
I have played a cleric, yes, and I have played a
and
barbarian.
Okay, and you've played a barbarian. And did I hear you say you played a druid as well?
I am playing one right now.
Excellent.
I've also
okay, so
played
you know those.
a fighter and a cleric. Okay, and a druid. And wait, there wasn't one other thing in there that I'm. Oh, a paladin. I multi-class fighter paladin. So I multi-class.
Gotcha.
That.
Okay, those multi-class easily. So, okay, the ones you've already played, I'm just gonna kind of brush through a little more quickly, but I'll still give an explanation for anyone who might be watching and needs that, so you can go through. So, all right. So, in general, in D&D, there are two major archetypes of character. You have your spellcasters and you have your melee fighters. Now, and there are some that kind of toe the line between, and of course there are those that really don't fit any of the categories, or ones that are on that spectrum anywhere. So, all right, barbarians. So barbarians, their biggest and most important mechanic is the rage mechanic. When you go into a rage, you get to minimize the damage you do to yourself by all bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. The three most common types of damage in the game are halved. You have resistance to those, so you half that damage. And you already get a large amount of HP to begin with, so you become very tanky. You can slug hits really hard. Now, there's any number of ways you can branch out from there. There are barbarians that go a little more into doing good damage. There are barbarians that lean into protecting others, and there are barbarians. If you really want to lean in on the tank aspect, there's a barbarian that halves basically all damage to you, and you just become the mega tank. So that's the mechanic there. So, Bard, it's a spellcasting class. Its big mechanic, other than spellcasting, is Bardic Inspiration, the ability to help out your teammate by giving them an additional die to roll on top of what they're doing. Cleric is a spellcaster, so on top of casting spells, their biggest bonus is they get a channel divinity power, which is the ability to have some sort. It's different for every single subclass, but they are given an ability tied to with whatever their god does. For example, a war cleric gets to give them a +10 on an attack roll, so basically just guaranteeing you hit whatever you do. There's one that means the next attack on this enemy has vulnerability, which means it does double damage. So you can really team that up. But very flexible, can do almost anything. But by the way, difficulty to play. Barbarians are very easy to play, simple mechanics, a lot of fun. Bards, I would put moderate to difficult, as I would cleric. Druids are also moderate to difficult, could even lean to hard, like clerics and druids. Like clerics and bards, they are spellcasters. And their special ability is Wild Shape, the ability to turn into an animal. Moon Druids, once a subclass, leans harder into those wild shapes, so they can do so better, more frequently, more powerfully. And there are other subclasses that lean into healing, control, or even just spellcasting in general. All right, Fighter. So I think Fighter gets a bad rap sometimes for being kind of blasé and normal, but fighters, unsurprisingly, fight, but they have a huge range of variability. For example, for those of you who are Lord of the Rings fans, both Gimli and Legolas are fighters, and they are nothing alike, but they are both fighters mechanically, and probably the same class of Battlemaster fighter. So Battlemaster fighter is the closest thing a fighter has to a full-blown caster. You get a bunch of what are called maneuvers, which are essentially spells. Different things you could do. So you can either drop someone prone, make them drop their weapon. You could help a fighter. You could any number of things. So the subclasses range everything from being a mounted combatant on a horse to casting actual magic spells to growing to the size of a giant and a Hulk smashing your way around the battlefield, and many, many more. Incredibly broad, all kinds of stuff you can do, can really fill any role. All right. Monks are also a martial class, but unlike the fighters, the monks like hand-to-hand combat, usually. Some subclasses lean on other stuff, but they usually like hand-to-hand combat. There's a ninja subclass called Way of the Shadow, where you get to teleport from shadow to shadow, which is fun. There's even a healing monk where you get to punch someone to heal them, metaphorically. So, fun with this. They are very light on their feet characters. Could be fun if you want to play a Bruce Lee, a Jackie Chan type, or even a WWE fighter type of character. You can absolutely do that. All right, into the second half here. Paladins are what happens when you mix a fighter and a cleric. So they get a little bit of spell casting, they get a little bit of magic. Their hallmark ability is the Divine Smite. Now, after you hit, and this is important because you can see if you hit before you use this ability, you can choose to use a Divine Smite. And, which means you get to pile an extra amount of d6s of radiant damage on top of that attack, just whenever you feel like it. Let me tell you, if you do this when you have a critical hit, then you can those dice immediately double. So if you're rolling that 20, then it's a good not a bad idea to just go ahead and use that Divine Smite. However, they also get, like Paladins, get a Channel Divinity with extra abilities as well that can go everything from giving your magic sword way more power to hit even harder, to healing people, or to make your enemies afraid of you. Very flexible. Rangers are what happens when you cross a fighter and a druid. They also get a little bit of magic and some good fighting ability, and they lean back and forth, so they're excellent trackers. So Aragorn from Lord of the Rings would be a ranger, and so very flexible. They can use either range weapons like a bow and arrow, or they could use a sword. So very flexible in that way as well. Being able to, you get what is a favored enemy, so someone you are extra knowledgeable about. So it might be dragons, it might be humans, whatever it is, it's something that you know extra about and can track better than most. All right, rogues. Rogues are our sneaky characters, and I love rogues. Rogues are so much fun. They are one of the easier mechanical classes, and they're also very solid mechanically. Their hallmark ability is the sneak attack. The rogue is your classic glass cannon. They only get one attack a turn, but when they hit, oh my, they are going to hit like a truck. And the subclasses can give you everything from some magic spells to stabbing someone with a dagger of their mind, a mind dagger, or to being extra super inquisitive, a Sherlock Holmes-like rogue. All kinds of abilities, very fun, good in both in and out of combat. All right, so our last three are our Arcana casters. All three, both Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard, all use magic spells in slightly different ways. I'm going to start with Wizard because it's your baseline. Wizards are the magiciest magic users that ever magicked. They focus almost entirely on the spells. Their subclasses have little flavor and do some stuff, but it's all about the magic. And the biggest thing about them is they can learn an unlimited number of spells, which is different than every single other class in the game, which can only either know or a certain number of spells. They can add spells to, as long as there are spells on the list, they can keep adding them to their book. And they also have the longest spell list by a very large margin. So wizards get to cast the most spells. That makes them a little mechanically difficult, but also gives them enormous flexibility. Sorcerers are very close to wizards, but they get what is called metamagic. If you know the rules of magic, they get to break the rules of magic. They can they can twin a spell to cast two at an opponent at once, or an ally. They can quicken a spell, so they can do double the things on their turn, and any number of things. And they get powers based on their subclass, Everything from being able to heal people by being a divine being or having ties to a divine being, to having a getting extra damage from a of a certain type that aligns with a dragon that you may have been related to. Lastly, warlocks. Warlocks, well, we'll get artificer too. Warlocks are probably the most difficult class in the game to play because they do not follow any of the rules. They only get a couple spell slots a day. They get those spell slots back at a short rest instead of a long rest like everybody else, but they also get some magic and powerful abilities they use all the time. They are very, very broad, and depending on which of the subclasses, they could be everything from healers to tanks to damage fighters to heavy spellcasters, depending on what you want to do. Difficult to play, but a lot of fun, especially, I know one thing you'd love, Bonus Mom, is they are absolutely loaded with innate roleplay, because you have someone you owe a favor to, and they are gonna call on that from time to time. So, very fun way that the mechanics work with the backstory. Last is the Artificer. Artificer is probably, I will not be considering the Blood Hunter, just because it's not an official class. A lot of fun, but not one that we're going to go with this for this. So Artificers are your magic tinkerers. They make magic items that have their power for them. Whether you want to have Tony Stark power armor, you want to have a little robot dog that follows you everywhere, or making your magic potions, Artificers do all of that. They get some spell casting, they get some magic item usage, they can even be really good in combat, also really flexible. Alright, Bonus Mom, I know I just hit you with a ton, but which one of these do you want to look into a little more first?
I'm thinking. And I'm gonna eliminate the really difficult ones that for me, because
Gotcha.
I'm currently playing a druid in one game, and it's all I can do at like level 7, I think is where we are, to keep up with what that druid can do. It's a learning process for me. So I think that we're going to throw all the spellcasters out, and I'm going to stick with, I am interested in barbarian, paladin, and fighter, but I think barbarian and paladin. I am in my life interested to learn more about monks. That's probably going to be one of the next ones I'm going to choose, but I'm not going to choose it while I'm playing a druid.
Okay.
So barbarian, paladin.
All right, so I already have these pulled up since I know those are ones you were interested in. We're going to take a look. So I'm going to look at Barbarian, and we have our subclasses here. I'm going to, once again, since we're going mechanics, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what they do. Okay, Ancestral Guardian, Barbarian. So all of these are going to get their rage ability. All of them are going to get half off on bludgeoning, piercing, slashing while they're raging, and all of those sorts of things too. Barbarians are big, strong characters. You want them to have really high strength, really high constitution, and preferably decent dexterity. So it leaves it a little bit limited in terms of the intelligence, charisma, and wisdom, but that certainly doesn't mean that you have to have any of those as low or bad. So with that, here's a quick overview of what these do. Ancestral Guardians are protector barbarians. They have spirits of their deceased that work with them to help protect their friends. Mechanically, that means when someone makes attack against your friends, you can lessen the damage for them. You can roll dice to lessen the damage. Battle Ragers. This one's limited to only dwarves. So this is, if you're a dwarven Battle Rager Barbarian, you get to wear spiked armor that you can use to make your attacks. So you get an additional bonus action attack that is jabbing someone with your spiked armor. And as you might imagine, it's difficult to take someone's spiked armor away from them. So you basically always have a weapon. All right, Path of the Beast. This is a new one, but it's really fun. Path of the Beast is it's the closest thing to a Hulk subclass as we have. So for this, you get to grow, and you get to choose every time you rage, either fangs or mandibles, if you want it to be insectoid, claws, or a tail, and each one of them has extra abilities. So if you have claws, you get a free extra full attack. You just get another attack. So if you usually get 1 attack per action, you get 2. If you usually get 2, you get 3. You just get more attacks. It is awesome. The tail gives you reach, so you can attack from a distance, and some other, I don't remember what the other ability is. And with the bite attack, you get to heal on every single attack, kind of vampirically, sucking some health away from your enemy. Really fun. I'm not gonna lie, I have a backup character for one of my campaigns, and you're welcome to steal this idea if you want it. I have a Warforge, which is a robot, Path of the Beast, who I am flavoring as one of those beast transformers, because that sounds really cool. Okay. So, but you can flavor that however you like. All right, Path of the Berserker is the barbarianist barbarian. It really focuses in on that rage. If you've watched Critical Role, this is what Grog Strongjaw was. He was a berserker, really goes into the rage. A little less mechanically powerful, but the mechanics are solid, the ones they do have. Storm Herald. You get to choose a type of weather, and each one has a bonus. So you get an area of effect with this as well. So it can either heal, or it could do damage, depending on which you pick. Fire damage, lightning damage, etc. There are other similar types of things. So you have all kinds of weather-flavored stuff. Totem Warrior. Totem Warrior is funny because this is a subclass within subclass 1. Because you get to pick different animals to grab traits from. Now, the most famous and the most often picked one is if you are a bear barbarian, you half all damage you take with the exception of psychic damage, which makes you immensely tanky. It effectively doubles your HP. It is excellent. Really, really great if you're trying to really lean on the tank thing. That being said, there are lots of other really good features too. You can grant yourself pack tactics and your allies, which means that you have advantage on attack rolls. You can increase your movement speed. There are any number of things you can do with that. All right, Path of the Zealot. Now, I must admit, I'm biased. Path of the Zealot is my favorite. My favorite character I ever played was a Path of the Zealot barbarian. This is a barbarian that worships a god or goddess that gives them a limited amount of power. Now, this comes with 2 really big benefits. Number 1, you just do a ton of damage. The first time you hit someone on your turn, you do extra necrotic or radiant damage, depending on what your god would want. You do bonus damage, and the most important, the biggest bonus you have, is if your character dies, they can be revived for free. It does not cost 100 gold. You just got to spend the spell slot, and you can revive them. They would kill my character just to see what happened. Does this effect end if they die? They'd kill him and bring him back. And nope, and he was fine with it. He was also dumb, so that didn't hurt. But that would happen. A lot of fun with Zealot Barbarian. Wild Magic. Wild Magic is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but if you're leaning away from the mechanical complexity, this one is very complex, because every time you go into a rage, you roll a dice and a random effect happens, and you kind of want to know how they work so you can know how to best play each one. It's fun, but it's definitely a little more complicated. So if you are looking for something streamlined, really fun, but you're not going to have to remember as much as the mechanics, my recommendations of that would be Beast, Zealot, and Totem Warrior. All 3 of those are simple on the mechanics, a couple things to remember, very good mechanically, a lot of fun, and heaven knows you will not be underpowered. You can have a really good place in the party, and I think all of them give you some good backstory that you could meld with that as well. All 3 of them really could. So, do you want to ask more about these before we move on and take a look at the Paladins, or do you want to just go to look at Paladins first?
Well, I've got the 3 written down that you have recommended, and what kind of sounded good to me, just listening to it again, was the I was intrigued by the Zealot, okay, and then also the Path of the Beast because of all the extra attack, and Totem Warrior I know a little bit about, so those 3. So Beast, Zealot, Totem, I'm right on board with that.
Excellent. Okay. Very cool. If you want to, we can dig into their mechanics a little more so you can look at it, or we can look at Paladin so you pick a class first and then you can dig down deeper.
Let's
You
pick.
let me know what you prefer.
I prefer Paladin next, so you don't overwhelm me.
Okay.
Like I'll get so deep into, I'll start to get confused because you would be
I
telling
totally
me the
understand.
deep stuff about 3 characters, and
Yeah,
I want to pick first, and then it's less
that
for
makes
me to
sense.
kind of focus on. So
Okay, that's perfect. All right. Paladins are a lot of fun. I will admit there's a couple of these I know less about. Open Sea and Watchers are both 2 subclasses I'm not super familiar with, so I won't be able to give a longer explanation of those. I'm more than happy to look into them if those are things you're interested in or have heard about. I know
yeah.
Open Sea is the one that they had from Critical Role Season 2. So if that is what you are interested. So anyway, so as I mentioned, Paladin's big mechanics are their smites, but they also get spell casting. So you will have spells to think about too, but literally only half as many.
Yeah.
They get spells at half the rate of the others. So you can see you get you do slowly get more spells, but you won't even get any 2nd level spells until 5th level.
Yeah.
So there is plenty of time to slowly learn and keep going up. I will say our characters are gonna start at 3rd level. So we are going to start a little up here. So you're going to get to start and choose your subclass today. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to start at 3rd level was because of that. So all of them are going to get a couple things. So they're all going to get spells. They're all going to get a channel divinity, which is a special ability that they get to use, and they're all going to get an aura. So when you are around them, when you are near them, there are other benefits that you can get. Now, some of these I might have to look into. I don't have these memorized quite as well because, unlike Barbarian, where there's only 2 or 3 features, there are a lot more here. But they're not as bad. So here are the features that all of them get. They all get the smite. They all get spell casting, and they all get lay on hands, which is a flat healing abilities. You could say I heal them for 1 point, I heal them for 6. You pick the number, and the amount you have is equal to 5 times your paladin level. So that's really simple. You just keep track of how many you got and how many you want to give, and that's great because it only takes 1 HP to stop someone from dying. So if you keep 5 HP around, you can tap them for 1, and they are no longer dying. So that is an enormously helpful thing that you can do. So, all right, short version here. Oath of Conquest. This is the closest a paladin ever veers into being directly evil, but Oath of Conquests are, well, they're looking to conquer. They get abilities that cause others to fear them. They get spells that help with this. They even get Spiritual Weapon, the cleric spell that gives an extra attack as a bonus action. Very, very powerful. If you really want to go out there, and it's often said that Darth Vader is an Oath of Conquest paladin. I think that fits pretty well. So they have those abilities: fear, heavy attacks, those sorts of things. Oath of Devotion is your most classic paladin ability, and their channel divinity option supercharges their sword. They add their charisma modifier to their attack and damage rolls. So if you've ever had a +1 sword, well, you can have a +5 sword that goes on top of whatever your bonus is, which at that point you're just doing stupid amounts of damage and you're almost always hitting. So it does take an action to do it though, which is the one downside to it. You have to set it up to make it work. Oath of Glory is your Greek epic hero. So this would be Beowulf or Odysseus are Oath of Glory paladins. They want to go and win glory. They want to become the heroes for the history books, and they do lean a little bit towards being self-centered, but their heroic acts go towards those big feats of heroic. They are going to put themselves in the line of fire, and hopefully high risk, high reward. Oath of Redemption is your healing paladin. So they are incentivized mechanically to not attack others. You lose some of your bonuses if you make an attack. I personally am not as much of a fan of this subclass because of that. I don't like losing benefits, but you do get some pretty powerful healing and other protection abilities if you do that. So it comes at a cost, but it is pretty powerful. Oath of the Ancients is your nature paladin. They get abilities related to nature. You can speak with animals. You can have attacks that are empowered with nature spirits. So really, really great. They also get an anti-magic aura where people get, I believe it's disadvantage or advantage on magic attacks if you're in with the aura, if you're close to them, can be really helpful. Oath of the Crown is about serving the law, serving the leaders, the country. It gets a little fascistic at times, but either way, you are serving your country to the best of your ability, and your abilities go with that. A lot of them are giving and taking commands. You are helping out your allies as much as you are doing your own, as powering yourself up. So working again towards those roles. Okay, Open Sea and Watchers, I don't know as much about to give commentary on. If you're interested, I'm more than happy to dive into them for you. And the last one is Vengeance. So Vengeance Paladin, Batman is a Vengeance Paladin who uses Dexterity as a modifier. They want to get revenge for whatever it was, and this is not, and they are really good at it. Their Channel Divinity, they pick an enemy, and all of their attacks have advantage against that enemy until they are either dead or I think it's like 10 minutes or something crazy like that. The point is you're having, for the entire combat, you get advantage just because you say so. Eventually, Vax takes some Oath of Vengeance levels in Critical Role, which paired very nicely with multi-classing with Rogue. So, all right. Oathbreaker is an evil paladin. So unless you would like to play an explicitly evil character with very powerful abilities, but very explicitly evil abilities, Oathbreaker might not be your best option. So I don't think that's a very BonusMom-esque.
I don't think
not
so
gonna
either.
lie. Okay. All right.
Actually, given the adventure we're going to go into, depending on, the nature of that adventure, it's one where everybody in it could be evil, I guess, because,
Absolutely.
the reasons why. But no, that doesn't sound very reasonable for me.
This is certainly an adventure that could lend itself to having evil characters that fit in quite nicely, because everyone wants to get home. You don't have to like each other at all in order to get home. Now, that doesn't always work out, but I would agree with it. So, all right. So, if I was giving the real short overview, barbarians have less toys to play with, but they're really, really good at what they do. Paladins give you way more options, but there are more options, so a little more mechanically complex. It's also a little more focused on helping others, which I know is one thing that you definitely do like to do. So neither of these are bad choices. Both of them are excellent. What do you think, BonusMom?
Well, I cannot get away from the role playing. Just forgive me for that, okay? This is who I am.
No.
And I
believe you should meld them.
I know where I start in this adventure. Mm-hmm. And so then I cannot help but think, again, how did I get there? And some of these I look at, it would be harder to get there than others. But it would be very easy for a barbarian to get there. Possibly easier than some of the paladins, less difficult for the others. And I just can't get away from that. But after looking at both of it and thinking, I really want to have fun with this, and I just really want to have fun with this. I know it's going to be, I know the nature of the adventure, a little bit about, we've talked about that, and, it's a tough adventure. I think I'm going with Barbarian.
Excellent. That's a great choice.
But I love that you have told me about Paladin. I've got a whole lot of notes written here.
Oh, for sure. And it's not like it's ever bad to know. You always can hold on to them later. No, and as I said, my favorite character I've ever played, and I mean, to be honest, I'm someone who does know the mechanics, and I still had more fun playing a barbarian than any other character I've ever played. It's my favorite character I've ever played. So it tells you don't have to have mechanical complexity, even if you know the mechanical complexity, to enjoy a character. He was a dragonborn barbarian who worshipped Tiamat and didn't realize he was evil because he was too dumb.
He was too dumb to even lie.
Loved it. Okay, so now I know that those were the three I recommended, but any of these could be totally fine. I don't want to turn you off from any of them if one of them really struck your fancy. So do you want to do a deeper dive into the mechanics of them, or do you already have one you kind of like? That's totally fine too.
Well, I have played the Path of the Berserker.
Uh-huh.
So I've played that. I've done that one. And So if I want to branch out just a little bit, having known that I've done that, I want to take Berserk. Well, I didn't really have Berserker on, but I'm just kind of reviewing now. Of course, I'm intrigued about Path of the Zealot. You say you like it. Well, that encourages me to think, well, I want to like it too, because maybe he'll help me build the very best character ever. But
and to interject real quick, if you want to, I am always a big fan of keeping the role play as a part of it. The role play is built into that one. You have a god that you are worshiping, so it is an essential part of it. And God knows I am never opposed to having some good inbuilt role play. So that could also be a bonus for you.
And an internal conversation all with myself, and that one I just love that. But I also like to think about the beast the most like the Hulk, because that is different from me. You know, that is very different from me. I'm the little old lady, and I played a Goliath. The one barbarian that I played the most was a Goliath barbarian called Tiny, and I really had a lot of fun with Tiny. Because again, he was
That's
big,
fantastic.
but he wasn't dumb. That was kind of a fun thing. Actually, he came up pretty good on wisdom and intelligence a little bit. Some things happened, and he was just a lot of fun. Okay, let's do it, because I don't know anything about it, and you're cheering it on. I'm going Path of the Zealot.
Okay, we're going to take a look at Path of the Zealot. So, since it is Beast and Zealot, let's go ahead and take a look at both of those mechanics, and that might sway you a little more in either direction.
Okay.
I do love the comment from McReese over here. BonusMom would like to rage. I think we're going to hear that a few times in our campaign. I'm excited. So, just going. So since Zealot is your favorite, the one that you are really looking at, let's go ahead and take a look at the mechanics here. So, I can tell you this campaign goes all the way to 14th level. So, if we finish it all the way through, you are going to get all of the mechanics. And I'm not going to lie, I tend to award levels a little bit more often than the book does. I can deal with some overpowered players. So, to take a look at these, and I'm going to read through these. So, to start off, on level 6, level 3, you get your Divine Fury. Starting when you choose this path at 3rd level, you can channel your Divine Fury into your weapon strikes. While you're raging, the first creature you hit on each of your turns with a weapon attack takes extra damage equal to 1d6 plus half your barbarian level. The extra damage is necrotic plus radiant or radiant. You choose the type when you gain this feature. So, I would say Caliban mine did radiant, even though Tiamat is an evil dragon. It was like I choose radiant, like fire themed, is how I decided to do that. And let me tell you, this goes real quick. When you get to level 10 and you're doing an extra d6 plus 5, that's extra 6 damage. Woo! Plus, you're getting more from raging. I would be at times. Oh, and your strength mod. I would be like a D10 plus 12 damage at times. So just adding stupid amounts of damage. When you hit, you are guaranteed going to do a ton of damage. That's when I say, if you really are about doing damage, I think this is the best damage dealing class for barbarians. All right, next. Warrior of the Gods. At 3rd level, your soul is marked for endless battle. If a spell, such as Raise Dead, has the sole effect of restoring you to life, but not undeath, the caster does not need material components to cast the spell on you. And you would get access to those spells. The lowest level one is 3rd level at, let's see, 3rd level spells would be 7th? Fifth level. So at 5th level, every time you die, you can just be brought back for free as long as your soul is willing. So, the assumption here is the barbarian likes to fight and wants to come back. This could be great, especially if you are worried about what's happening. As long as your character doesn't get hit with a finger of death and turned into a zombie, you will probably be okay. Sorry about that, Cam. Anyway, so really, really great. Really, really great ability. All right, now, since you're at level 3, you're not too far off from 6th level, which you get your next one. Starting at 6th level, your divine power fuels your rage can protect you. If you fail a saving throw while you're raging, you can re-roll it, but you must use the new roll. You can use this ability once per rage. Pretty nice. Not a huge ability, but pretty nice. Now, this is stacking on top of all the other things that you get as being a a barbarian. So pretty solid. All right. At 10th level, which once again, we're going to get here, so this was ability you'd have for a while. At 10th level, you get Zealous Presence. You learn to channel your divine power to inspire zealotry in others. As a bonus action, you unleash a battle cry infused with divine energy. Up to 10 other creatures of your choice within 60 feet that can hear you gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the start of your next turn.
Wow.
That is for especially for only a 10th level, that is a nasty ability. Now it does take, and here's the thing, it's also only a bonus action. If you're already, and look, you don't even have to be raging to do it. You can start with this, do something, and then rage on your next turn. If you really, that is a very nasty ability, especially if you can get up there and do things quickly.
Yeah.
And also so you know, one of the barbarian's ability is getting advantage on initiative rolls. So that's another good thing to have. So, lastly, 14th level, Rage Beyond Death. Beginning at 14th level, the divine power that fuels your rage allows you to shrug off fatal blows. While you're raging, having 0 hit points doesn't knock you unconscious. You still must make death saving throws, and you suffer the normal effects of taking damage while at 0 hit points. However, if you would die due to failing death saves, you don't die until your rage ends, and then you die only if you still have 0 hit points. So guess what? If the paladin pokes you for 1 HP, it starts over, and you have 3 more death saves.
Wow, so I become what's immortal?
More or less.
Unkillable.
And I'd also like to remind you, even if you do die, oh no, revives for free.
Revives for free. Woo! I'm going to be the most popular one in the group if I choose this because I can't go down.
Yeah, you literally, well, and this is on top of all of the other normal tanky things that they get. So now, and I will say, I think there is a tank that ability that people don't really realize that if you're not afraid to take all the damage, that's just as good as negating it from others. If you could run in the middle of everybody and you don't have to worry about dying literally at all, because otherwise, listen, the barbarian's going to pull away at some point.
Yeah.
If they're like, hey, what happens? Kill me. I'll come back tomorrow. So if you Groundhog Day it, then you're really okay. Yeah, no, McReese agreed. McReese says, damn, Zealot is a super tank. And agreed, for sure.
I think so. Yeah, I really do. I'm excited.
Oh, we had a gift from Silver Moon. Thank you so much. Looks like... Anyway. So, all right, now we're going to take a look at the Beast. Now, I love the Beast. This is really fun. All kinds of cool stuff. And since I think the Zealot, the origin stuff comes pretty naturally, I also want to read some of the roleplay stuff that they put here as possible options that you could pick from. And there are even more. So, as I said, I liked the Transformer origin, and who would have guessed that's not one of the ones that Wizards of the Coast recommended. So, some of the origins they have here is one of your parents is a lycanthrope, a werewolf, or wereboar, or were-rat, or whatever, and you inherited some of their curse. Next, you descended from an archdruid and have a part of their shape-change ability. A Fey spirit gave you the ability to adopt different animal abilities, or an ancient animal spirit dwells within you. Any of those work, and there's tons of other stuff you could do this too. You could have an experiment gone wrong, Hulk style. You could have any number of things that describe this. Maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's an add-on. Maybe you're kind of like an artificer, and you have these different things that you can pick to use. And you apply them to yourself. That works as well. So, any of these work. So, all right. 3rd level, Path of the Beast feature. When you enter a rage, you can transform, revealing the bestial power within you. Until your rage ends, you manifest a natural weapon that counts as a simple melee weapon for you, and you add your strength modifier to attack and damage rolls when you attack with it as normal.
Okay, I'm going to stop you on that one just to say that I already know that I'm not going to do that because of what I'm dealing with druids. So where it would be good for me to learn this, let's keep the overkill down just a little bit. I'm eliminating that one. I'm also telling you that Silver Moon wants you to take a drink. Silvermoon's thing
Okay,
was
gotcha.
hydrate. If you have something to hydrate, Silvermoon wants you. They're worried about you because you're going pretty strong here. But yeah,
Hey,
on the
I do
beast.
this. I do this for 7 hours a day. This is I'm good to go. Though I appreciate the
Yeah, she made a point
appreciate
of
it.
saying that's for you and
All
Robbie,
right.
bonus mom.
Yep. All right. No, easy enough. Yeah. So I'll give you the short version.
Okay.
Bite lets you heal, so you regain. You get a little bit of heal when you attack. Claws gives you an extra attack, and Tails gives you the reach. Oh yes, and you get a bonus to your AC, which is really nice too.
Hmm.
So make it a little harder to hit. Then you get either a climb, jump, or swim speed. And then lastly, you get to curse someone with yes, it has to use this reaction to make melee attacks, which is nice. You can have them attack their friends or take psychic damage. Um, yes. So so last one here is also helping your friends. When you enter a rage, you can choose a number of willing creatures within 30 feet of you, equal to your con modifier. You gain temporary hit points for each creature that accepts the feature. And until the rage, the chosen creature can use the following benefits. When the creature hits a target with attack roll, the creature can roll a d6 and gain a bonus equal to that roll. So you get to do more damage for your friends while healing yourself more. So, all right. Looks like Zealot's what you've chosen. You want to go for?
I think so. I think I'm
I
there. I'm excited
I have
about
a
it.
hard time. I have a hard time being upset with that when my favorite character ever was a zealot barbarian. So I know that was a ton of mechanics. Unfortunately, we got a little more. Now, I'm
Okay.
not going to go in as hard as this one, but so we use the origin system, which means it does not really matter what race you pick. You can apply a strength or constitution bonus to any of them. Any of them are. So where back in before, you probably wouldn't have wanted to pick a gnome barbarian. Sorry, McReese. But now you can give them a strength bonus to help them and let you pick any character that you might want, any race that you think might fits well. So that's one of the abilities here. All right, so I'm not even going to go through all of them because there are a ton. I'm going to pick some of the ones that I think you might be most interested, and ones that have interesting mechanical features that could also be fun, or if I have another interesting idea of things that might play in with other campaign members, so we could decide here. So,
Well, and I am
all
very
right,
willing to be guided on this. I really am.
excellent.
That's the whole purpose of this one. That's where I'm
Yeah.
headed. So I want your
For sure. Yeah,
recommendations.
there's very few of them that I would guide you against. Any
Okay.
of them are pretty solid now. The good news are. So for one, Aarakocra, you can fly. As long as you're not wearing heavy armor or medium armor, you can fly. Well, guess what? Barbarians don't use armor, so you can fly. I don't know what else to tell you. You can fly. That's pretty great. Uh, the next one that really thought so this one might fit well mechanically. Asimar or Asimar are characters that are infused with divine power, so that could really fit nice story-wise with this. They also have some other abilities they get to unleash and have some either healing or flying or small other temporary abilities they have. All right, I'm gonna go all the way down to Bugbear. Now, Bugbear has two really cool things. Number one, it has reach, which means you
Oh,
can attack someone from 5 foot farther away. So that's really fun. Just gives you a ton of ability to attack people from farther away. And their other thing is they get like a minor version of a sneak attack, like a rogue sneak attack, but they get it racially, so pretty cool. I also happen to know we have a Bugbear character in our campaign already, so that could be fun. You could already have some built-in role play with that character, either knowing them or we can figure that out during a session 0. But great for sure. All right, I'm going to go all the way down to Deep Gnome here. The reason I say Deep Gnome is because Deep Gnomes live in the Underdark. Um,
ah.
Deep Gnomes live in the Underdark, so it would totally make sense that you're already there. I don't think it's the most it would work a little less well story-wise, or not story-wise, mechanically, just because they are small creatures, and that doesn't play as well with some of the barbarian mechanics, but heaven knows you can make it work. Dragonborn are dragon people. You could go with the classic, which are the chromatic dragons, the evil ones. Now that doesn't mean your character is evil. That just means they're kind of related to that. Or the metallic, which are the good. But they also have the gym dragons, which are both neutral and they have psionic powers, which are pretty cool. All right. Duergar are the dwarves that live in the Underdark. Now, they tend to be evil, but I can say, if you were looking for a story, a good Duergar, a Duergar who's not evil, would really make sense for them to get cast out, and that would make a whole lot of sense for them to be out there. They also get some psychic psionic abilities, which are fun. You can't go wrong with a dwarf. They already live underground. You have some inbuilt conflict that just makes sense. Same thing with elf. There are drow underground. The dark elf, which I guess I didn't. Did they move drow? Well, I guess it's just under elf. So with that, if you picked the dark elf or drow, that they already live underground, and all of the other elves would also be in conflict with the drow as well. So that fits very well mechanically. All right, now this might be an interesting one to have you pick. I think this might be, and this is where I also have my bias, but the Githyanki could really fit. You see, Githyankis fight mind flayers, the evil tentacle monsters. Here, I'll pick one here. They fight the evil tentacle monsters. That is what they do. And they just so happen to worship either a Lich Queen goddess or Tiamat. Now, this doesn't mean that they are evil. They are just so focused on killing the evil Underdark's denizens, especially the mind flayers, that they are willing to not always make the best decisions because of that. So that could be a lot of fun as well. It also gives you an easy into while you're there. I love Githyanki. Other than that, Goliath is pretty common for barbarians. Human is literally never bad. Human is always good. Leonin, the lion people, could be fun. So would Orc and Half-Orc be really good mechanically. Last one I'll mention is Warforged or robot people, and they are really cool. I like the idea of a Warforged person going back and trying to meet his creator as a divine character, zealot. So, and that one would be less of an angry rage and more of a like robotic focus. Once again, I know I hit you with a ton, but are there any that you think might be interesting?
All of them.
They
Pretty
all
much.
have bonuses. None of them are bad. That's one of the things I love with the new Origin system. There's no bad options. Minotaur could also be fun. We have a Minotaur Barbarian in the Thursday night game now, which is great.
Well, I like the idea of the bugbear. Right, you hit me right away with reach and minor sneak attack. Obviously, that just rounds that barbarian out.
Oh, it's fantastic. And if you're trying to do damage, that does damage.
Githyanki sounds interesting, but I probably would struggle with that just a little bit. I gotta worship somebody evil in order to do somebody evil in.
Yeah, though you could always be someone who goes against that, as actively trying to go against it. That's always fun too, is to go against your nature.
To do the struggle.
So, and not that you have to, but it's just a thing to think about.
Okay. Well, I can't decide. Bugbear sounds good. Okay, let me ask you this just because I don't know. Somehow I think I've thought of Duergar and Drow as being the same thing. So what's the difference between a Duergar and a Drow?
A Duergar is the dark dwarf, and a Drow is the dark elf. Yep. So Duergar are dark dwarfs. They get dark vision, and they also get some magic spells. They can cast reduce, enlarge on themselves to either make themselves bigger, which this can really be fun if you want to do that. Unfortunately, you can't rage and concentrate on a spell at the same time, but it's still fun. Or you can turn yourself invisible. So that's the extra bonus you get. Drow also get a little bit of magic, and they get superior dark vision. They can see really, really well. Basically, they see in the dark like it's normal.
Which would be extremely helpful. Do bugbears have dark vision?
They do have dark vision, yes. Bugbears have
What about Githyanki?
Githyanki do not have dark vision. Other things here, looking at Bugbear since we're in here. Bugbear, they have dark vision. They have advantages on charmed effects And we talked about the reach. You can drag and pull more, which, especially as a barbarian, that just means that you are dragging things like that. You get proficient. You're proficient with stealth. Oh, and you can move. You can move past. You basically get the cat ability to move through small spaces. You can move through the space for a small creature, even though you're not. And you get the surprise attack where you do extra damage.
Okay, it's between Githyanki and Bugbear.
Both are really fun. Let's take a look at Githyanki mechanics. Or
Okay.
Githyanki, it could be either
Okay.
way. All right, so you have a walking speed. You get an additional proficiency in literally anything. This could be a fun thing too. Githyanki do not really have a normal lifespan because they live in the astral sea where time doesn't exist. So you could be eons old. So in the roleplay possibilities are great here. I could really, if you wanted to, I can help you with some fun backstory stuff. That could be really cool. Mechanically, you get some spells. You get Mage Hand, which is invisible, always handy. You get the jump spell, and you get you get the jump spell, and you get Misty Step. Though I will want to say you can't cast spells while you're raging, so that's important to remember.
Okay, so McCree said the resistance to charm sounds helpful. Which was that?
That always is. Yep.
And
and one last thing is they get resistance to psychic damage, which psychic damage doesn't always happen, but usually when it does, it is nasty. So that's useful too.
Okay, and the resistance to charm is also the Githyanki. Githyanki.
No. They don't get resistance to charm.
Well,
they get the spells instead.
They
have resistance to psychic damage.
They got resistance to psychic damage.
Both are excellent. There is not a bad choice.
I think somebody has to choose for me. I just don't think I can choose between the two of them.
Here's the thing. We have a dice right here.
Let's do it.
What do you want to do? Okay. We're going to use a D100. What do you want to be high? What do you want to be low?
Okay, I want Bugbear to be high, and I want Githyanki to be low.
All right, so 1 to 50 is Githyanki. 51 to 100 is Bugbear. Let's see what we got.
Okay.
55. Bugbear it is.
I'm a Bugbear. Okay.
Bugbear.
I really could not make that decision, and I do that sometimes. Yeah.
Okay.
I do when I don't know what to choose. I roll
rolling a die to choose is always a valid option in D&D. All right, so now we're gonna pick Barbarian. We get to breeze through some of this pretty quickly since you've already made your decision. All right, and I'm gonna pick Zealot because you already know you want that, and I love Zealot. We're gonna start off. You get some proficiencies. You get 2 amongst animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, survival. Now, if my optimizer brain kicks in, I always think athletics and perception for a barbarian. Being able to see the stuff and being able to pull when you need to pull, push when you need to push. So both of those are great, but one of the good things is none of these are bad. All of these are solid, right? Especially because I usually let barbarians make intimidation checks with their strength modifier.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay, that sounds good.
What do you think amongst those?
Well, I was going with your suggestion. I was going athletics and perception. Yeah, perception and athletics.
Hard to argue. All right, now, do you know whether you want to do necrotic or radiant damage for your bonus? Necrotic tends evil, so radiant is the one that is. This is a light good or evil thing, though it doesn't have to be. Like I had an evil line character who did radiant.
Well, see, then I get into the thing about radiant damage is. Well, I'm in the underdog. I don't know whether we're dealing with undead or not. Because radiant damage is what works against undead. Necrotic damage is what...
it depends on the kind of undead. Though necrotic would not work against undead, usually.
Yeah. But we're in the Underdark. We're not in Curse of Strahd.
If you're optimizing, if you're optimizing, Radiant has fewer things that resist it. If you're going with if you're doing Robbie optimizer brain, Radiant has fewer creatures that are going to be resistant against it. Basically only celestials / angels, and you very rarely fight them. And if you are fighting them, you have other issues probably.
So we go Radiant.
All right. And that also, since your character is almost certainly going to be good aligned, that makes sense as well. All right, that was easy. Ability score, we are going to use the point buy method.
Mm-hmm.
You here, there are two good options here. You can either give a +1 to 3 different categories, or a +2 and a +1. Neither one of those is bad, especially for Barbarian, where strength, dexterity, and constitution are all important. If you really wanted to, you could take 3 15 to have a 16, 16, 16, 8, 8, 8. I don't necessarily recommend that, but it's an option that you could have. Or you could have 1 +2 and a +1. Neither option is bad. Both are good. Especially in this case, where as a barbarian, there really are multiple stats that you want to be decent.
If we're starting out at level 3, what's the level where we get to add more?
Level 4. And I'll give you a spoiler. You're going to get a bonus feat. You're going to get a feat at level 1. You're going to get a feat right off the bat here. So because of that, you have another thing you get to add too. And feats can have a +1 to an ability score as well, which you can play into that.
So I almost can pick some 14s, knowing that I might get one more and then turn around and get one more, or whatever.
Or pick a 13 and already have it as a 14. So a +2 is great. That's great. So
well, just for fun.
And we could change this too. I mean, that's
okay. If I go with the 13, 13, 13. What does that leave me to work with?
Let's take a look. So I'm assuming you probably want your +1s and the ones that affect you, right? Strength, Constitution, Dexterity. Okay. So let's take a look.
And I'll be honest. You just need to tell me because my computer, what I'm looking at, so little.
I would, so the ability I would look here for you, first of all, I would make the strength 16 or 15 instead of 13.
Okay,
just because that's all of your to hit modders. Yeah, I would I would either have it a 15 with a +1 or a 14 with a +2. I would have that at a 16 at level 1 if you're using your if we're thinking optimizer brain, that's what I would do if I were you.
Let's do it.
Now, here's the good thing, though. That still gives you 8 points. You could make 2 of these at 12 and 1 of them at 8, which means you only have 1 negative stat and the other 2 have a +1 to them. You could make 1 of them all the way up to a 13 or even a 14 and still get a +1 to something. Or you could have 10s with a 10 or a 12 in 1 and 10 in both of them. This actually gives you a whole lot of flexibility.
Okay. So
and any of these would work. If you're thinking, story-wise, maybe you are the gruff one. You don't get along well with others. That's one reason your charisma might be a little lower. You're the battle warrior. You go out there and fight others. Your intelligence doesn't have to be low, though we could crank this to if you want another 14, we could put it at 14 in wisdom or intelligence or charisma as well. But we could bump both of these to a +1 or even, whatever else. And that would work too. So, especially if you want to contrast and not be the dumb barbarian, which I think, especially in this, for a zealot, totally fits of not being a dumb barbarian.
Well, and I can't keep myself out of my characters. I mean, how can we really? And whenever there's a puzzle or anything, my character might have a negative whatever, but BonusMom is sitting there trying to solve the puzzle. So in a way, I don't really want to be dumb because it's hard for me to play that. Okay, so we're going to go. We've got the 23 points. Is it or 27 points?
So we have 8 points remaining, and so just to tell you, if you're going to keep one of them at an 8, you could either make both of them a 12. You could make one of them a 14, but then you'd have 2 negative stats. Or you could have both of them as, so you could have 2 of them as a +1, one is a +2, or all 3 as flat 10s and no bonuses, no negative bonus to anything.
I wish I could see this better because you're saying it and I'm getting confused. Okay,
Gotcha.
so you're talking
right
about.
here, you could. So we could give you.
Okay,
you
so
could have
that's
2 abilities with a +1, right? So you could have 2 12s and an 8.
okay. 2 12s and an 8 is what's
Or
left. But wait, just tell me
Yep.
what you, because I'm writing it down where I can see it. What numbers
Sure.
have you given me for strength, constitution, and dexterity?
And I'm going to give you the total number, including the bonuses to race.
Okay. Okay.
Your strength is a 16.
Okay.
Dexterity 14.
Okay.
Constitution 14.
Okay.
And the other 3 are currently 8s, and we can move those. Now, you have points remaining, and there's no point in leaving points on the table. You can make your character a little more powerful, right? Especially use an optimizer brain.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
If I'm tell me one more time. I mean, you haven't told me before, but I'm hearing it one more time. The difference
you're
between
fine.
intelligence and wisdom.
Yeah, so intelligence is what you know, wisdom is how you use your knowledge. So a high wisdom character has a really good intuition. They can sense the things around them. Intelligence is your book knowledge. So the classic example is intelligence knows that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom tells you not to put it in a fruit salad.
Yeah. I kind of feel like evening them out.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like a 12 and 2 8s.
Mm-hmm. No, it'd be a 2 12s and 1 8.
Oh.
You'd only have 1 negative skill. Yeah. So that's pretty, I'm not going to lie, that's a pretty appealing option.
Okay.
To have 2 12s and 1 8. Let me double check, make sure I'm right on that.
Correct. I'm trying to think about
No, you're fine.
Charismatic bugbear.
No, that could make sense.
I'm trying to
listen,
picture that.
That's the preacher.
And
Preaching is a performance check.
And I go with not being very intuitive because that's why I rage.
Could be. Yeah, that totally
not
makes sense
knowing
to me.
not to put the tomato in the fruit salad because that's why
Makes
I get so frustrated and angry. Yes.
That totally fits. So
So
we want
I
to go
would
at 12
put
in
the 8
intelligence
in
and
wisdom.
charisma.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So that puts so you have a 12 intelligence, a 12 charisma, and a little lower wisdom. I like that. I really love that. So this is the zealot in the truest sense. Your character is a preacher. I like that. They have the charisma to back that up too. I'm really here for it. Okay.
All righty.
All right. So this is where you get to pick your name. If you know the name you want to pick, that's totally fine. We can also go to the fantasy name generator to look at some options of bugbear names. Now, bugbear names are like the classic ones, but you can pick whatever name you want. I don't really
throw
care.
a few at me just so I can hear them.
Right.
But I really like to pick my own names.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay,
and
let's
sometimes
see.
they don't sound
see
anything.
If they have bugbear as a. Okay, they do have bugbear names, maybe. All right. Bugbear name generator. Yes, here we go. All right. Kavor, Retter, Zotok. Yeah, these are Zunk. I like Zunk. Yeah, these are little and this could be something you decide later too, as you work around with your names. So their names are all, so technically bugbears are related to orcs and goblins, or excuse me, as goblins and hobgoblins, not orcs and goblins. So they're all like goblin-esque names. They don't have to be. That's just for recommendation. So, so we could also kiss right there. It just says BonusMom's character. We could just hold that until you decide something else. That's also totally fine. The name can be literally the last thing you pick.
Okay.
We don't have to decide that
I'm thinking, but I'm not there yet.
Sure. We're gonna let's go ahead and look at some of the other options over here. So in terms of languages that you take, some of the ones that might make mechanical sense could be Celestial. That's the language of the gods. Draconic is the equivalent of Latin. Draconic is the equivalent of Latin in our world. Dwarfish and Elvish always make sense. Those are always good options. And Undercommon is the common of the Underdark, especially if your character knew that they were going to be in the Underdark, that would also make sense. What do you think?
Let's make it easy. I'm going Celestial and Underdark, and it'll be up to me to figure out how I knew I was going to be there. I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, so you could only have one or the other. Do you have a preference?
Oh, Celestial. Celestial.
Celestial. Easy enough. Okay. All right. Background. This is where we don't have to worry about optimizer brain on this one. What was your character before they were an adventurer? It's time for you to do what you do best, Bonus Mom.
Okay, now I want to talk about that because there are some members from the adventure in here. And I know that No Remark said he wasn't going to be here because he didn't want to know who or what I was, okay?
Fair enough.
So do we have people that don't want to know what my backstory is until I really get a chance to think it out?
We definitely have a couple of your...
I really may want to, in my own time, kind of think about this. Like I was saying, well, I'm going to think about...
Well, we can also just mechanically pick the general category, and all the specifics can come later. So if you pick Acolyte is the one where you worked for a church. And anything where you had a relation with the church is going to work on that one.
Particularly since I'm picking Celestial.
Yeah. Though there's a couple others that might work too. For one, I'm not going to lie, Charlatan could be really fun. Maybe they are a preacher, but they are maybe have made bad decisions in their day. Now, this could be a charlatan on the reform, but they don't stop learning all the things they did. That could be really fun. Faction agent, if you were sent down here by a group of people, and I would tell you who some of those are, to do something, it would certainly give you a reason to be here. Another one that would fit, haunted one. You saw something that made you go questing. That could work. Knight could be fun. You are an actual knight. You have a knightly position, and I will say this could be fun because knights also get retainers. You get a couple NPCs that go with you. That could also be really fun. Or Sage is your studied wise person. It could be a hermit. They were lived out in the middle of nowhere. All of these could be really fun. None of these are. I mean, this is all based on the way you want to do it. So, what do you think?
I think I want to think about it. Part of it, I just really want to think about it, and I want to say...
okay, and we can leave this... Now, there are some mechanical choices that might come here with some proficiencies or other stuff. We can talk about that later. We can definitely
Why don't we nail that down later? And then that still leaves something. Now, when does this game start? When is it going to play?
No, we're not 100% sure. I would say my best guess is about a month.
Okay,
we probably have 4 to 5-ish more sessions of the other game, depending on how quickly we get through stuff. And I kind of imagine that we're going to want to pick up probably the very next week. We can take a break if we want to, but I'm going to guess people want to go.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. We are definitely, we have live streamed this now to anybody who wanted to listen to it tonight.
Yeah.
It'll be there for a week if anybody else wants to listen. And then we'll have it, but it's coming down. It probably will not show up either on YouTube or in our podcast until after that adventure starts, somewhere around in there. Okay?
Cool.
But with us not having dealt with the backstory, by leaving that out, then it can go up almost. It can go up even the same week that we start the adventure.
That's perfect.
So as much, and that also gives me a chance just to review and think about. I may want to rethink the language. I said Celestial, but I'm thinking.
You could change that. I don't care. You could definitely change before you play.
Yeah,
the only other things that I would want to knock out tonight is your bonus feat, which also will probably decide kind of what weapon you're going to use. Which may or may not go with that, depending on some of the options.
Okay, and
those
I
are
have
the only
never
thing I'm really worried about.
I've never really. I nearly always. When it gets to the point of you can do feats or bonuses, I tend to go with those bonus points. So I've never really paid any attention to feats.
Perfect. So there are 1.5 billion, and I'm going to give you some of the ones that are going to fit best.
Okay,
Luckily,
that would be perfect.
A lot of them fit best. So I'm going to go ahead I'm just gonna pick some of the equipment here. You're already gonna get that martial weapon. We'll give you some hand axes you can throw. Done. Easy. All right, got your character sheet here. All right, now we have your nameless adventurer. We'll go ahead and equip some of your weapons. Already have a 14 AC right off the bat, no weapons, which usually isn't good, but you also, you're pretty tanky. So, all right. So what we're gonna do here, did you already have an idea of weapons, or do you want to look at some of the feats that go with them first?
No, let's look. I don't have any idea. I purposely have no ideas. I wanted to come to this with a clean slate.
All right, so we're going to look at some of the feats. I'm going to show you some of them that can be pretty good for especially what you're working at. Now, some of these also might make us want to go back and look at the ability scores, because if you get a +1 to strength, that means you could even out that wisdom or even bump something else up.
Gotcha.
So, and that's okay to keep in mind. So that's another thing. So taking a look here. All right. Athlete, you can give yourself a +1 to strength and dexterity. Instead of taking half your movement to stand up, it's only 5 feet. You have a climb speed. You can climb for no extra movement, and you can make a long jump just from a stand, or after only 5 foot. So you can make a long jump. Athlete can be pretty good. You can't really go too bad, or can't go wrong with that. And you get a +1 to strength or dexterity, which means you could bump up your strength and give yourself 2 more points to either even something out or make something better. So that's pretty solid. All right. So there are 3 different ones that deal with damage type. Crusher is if you're using bludgeoning damage, which there's a ton of really good bludgeoning weapons for barbarians. You get a +1 to strength or constitution. If you hit a creature with an attack, you can move it 5 feet as long as it is not more than one size larger than you. So you can be pushing people around. And if you get a critical hit with bludgeoning damage, all your attack rolls have advantage until the end of until the start of your next turn. For everybody, not just you, but for everybody against that creature. Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. If you wanted to use 2 weapons, a weapon in each hand, you get an extra +1 to your AC if you have a melee weapon in each hand. You can use 2 weapon fighting, even if they aren't light weapons. Basically, when you're making bonus action attacks, so it essentially lets you use a bonus action to make another regular attack, and you can pull both your weapons at a time.
And is that all in Crusher that you're talking about?
No, this is the next feat.
Okay, sorry, and what was the next feat? Because I'm
dual wielder.
Dual wielder. Okay.
Yep. Sorry about that. Yes, this is dual wielder, which is a good one. Yeah, someone mentioned Sentinel's a great feat, which it absolutely is. So, yeah, so dual wielder's great, especially if you wanted to use 2 swords or two maces, 2 blunt bludgeoning weapons. You also have the ability to use a shield if you want to use a shield and raise your AC a little bit. That's another thing your character can do. That's just an item, so no mechanical stuff to worry about there. Okay. Let's see. Next one that I think would be good. Great Weapon Master. Classic. When you use a weapon with 2 hands, you have 2 abilities. Number 1, if you crit on an attack, or if you reduce a character to 0 HP, you can make another bonus action attack. Really great. And this is another really, really nasty one. Before you make an attack with a heavy weapon that you're proficient with, you can take a -5 to the attack to hit, and you get +10 damage. And just to let you know, one of the barbarian's abilities to reckless attack means give yourself advantage whenever you want. So you can have these and hit really, really hard. Really good. Okay. Lucky. Lucky is the one feat that is good for every character at every time. 3 times a day, you see someone's dice roll and you say no thank you. And it's either me or another character. You can tell them to roll again. It is nice. So it's basically either any check that you make or an attack roll against you. And you get them back at every long rest. So it's not even at every table. It's back at every long rest. So you could get a ton of those, especially if you're taking a lot of long rests. All right. If you wanted some spell casting, you could take some Magic Initiate. That might be fun. You could take some Cleric stuff to do. That wouldn't help you much in combat, but it could give you like a Cure Wounds or some other stuff that you could do, which is certainly always nice. Mobile lets you move a lot more, and you can run away from people without provoking attacks of opportunity, which is nice for mobile. Okay, here we have Piercer. So we had Crusher. This is the next one for piercing damage. You get a +1 to Strength or Dex. For you, I'm sure that'd be Strength. Once in your turn, when you hit a creature that does with an attack that does piercing damage, you can re-roll the attack's damage, and you can, but you must roll take the new roll. So if you roll low, you get to go again. And when you do a critical hit, you get an additional damage die, which you're already going to get because you're a barbarian. So this is even more so. So you could just be doing really nasty crits. Okay. All right. Savage Attacker, every time you roll your damage, you can roll again and use either total. So you can just roll damage twice every single time you make a weapon attack. Or once per turn. Anyway.
And use whichever number you want.
Yep, out of either one. All right, this is one of the ones that other people recommended, and it's hard to say no. Sentinel. When someone comes into your range, you get an opportunity attack, and their speed becomes 0. Or excuse me. Nope. Sorry. I'm sorry. I conflated 2 different feats there. My bad. Sorry. You get the second one. When you hit someone with an opportunity attack, their speed becomes 0. So if someone tries to run away from you to attack a friend or someone else, their speed becomes 0. They cannot get away. Also, even if they disengage, you still get an attack of opportunity. So, and if you make that attack of opportunity, their speed still becomes 0. If a creature within 5 feet of you makes an attack against someone other than you, you can use your reaction to make an attack of opportunity, which prevents the other 2. Very nasty. Good to protect other people if you're going to have other people around. Sentinel is one of the best. Shield Master's kind of nice. You can shove people, and it gives you a bonus to your. It can give you a bonus to dexterity saves, and if it's a single target that hits you and you save, you take no damage. So, for example, like Disintegrate. If you pass a Disintegrate, it hits your shield and you take no damage from it, which is pretty nifty. So, all right, there's only 2 more that I am going to look at. I passed one of them. I'll go back to it. Slasher is the last of the 3. You get a +1 to Strength or Dex. When you hit a creature with an attack that does slashing damage, you reduce the speed of the target by 10 feet. And when you get a crit, they have disadvantage on all of their attack rolls. All right, there's only one more I'm going to show you, which I passed on accident, but that's okay. And I'm not going to lie, this one's my favorite. My barbarian had this one. Polar Master. When you attack when you take the attack action with a glaive, halberd, quarterstaff, spear, they've also errated this to add a trident as well. If you wanted to use a trident, you can use your bonus action to make a melee attack with the other end of the weapon. But it does a D4 bludgeoning damage. Now, I would like to remind you, since you are barbarian, you get all those crazy bonuses to your damage, which will still apply even to that bonus action attack. And here's the other one. This is the other part that I forgot that's not part of Sentinel. A lot of people pull this one Sentinel. When people enter your area of attack, they provoke an attack of opportunity. I would also like to go ahead and mention you're a bugbear. Your reach is 5 foot farther already. This means you can attack people from 2 squares away. Now, you can do that with a polearm even if you don't have this feat, but this really cranks us up to 11. So, if I were recommending one for you, the 3 that I would say are best are Great Weapon Master, Polearm Master, and Crusher. Those, in my opinion, are the 3 best options. All of them are good, though, if one of the others looked fun to you.
No, I'm going with Polearm Master because I really like that bonus action. With
it's
both,
great.
Because if you screw up on one way, it's like I'm pissed and I just hit him with the other end of the weapon.
Absolutely, and
the reach.
This also pairs really nicely with your other ability. If you miss on your regular attack, you can still have that. Let's see, what is it called? The Divine Fury, where they take an extra. That can work for that bonus action attack too. So you're doing even more damage, even if you miss. Excellent choice. So we're gonna come down here. We're gonna add manage feats. We're gonna add your Polearm Master.
Yes, I'm taking notes. You're right. McReese is saying I'm taking. McReese says I'm taking notes like there's going to be a final next week, and yeah, I kind of am.
Don't worry, my finals are always written finals. They're never multiple choice. Alrighty.
You can overthink
the
a
last thing
multiple
to do
choice.
is choosing the weapon. The last thing you get to do here is we get to pick the weapon you're going to use.
Well,
and you do have a couple options. So, here I'm gonna pull up the player's handbook on this one. Game rules, equipment. All right. All right. So, the 2 big ones here. So you can always use a spear. Spears are great. They have they can either have a D6 or a D8 damage, and you can throw them. A glaive is a slashing weapon. So it's basically a sword on a stick, right? A sword on a stick. Yes, thank you, McReese. I appreciate it. Yeah, I really try hard. More thinking about critical thinking than regurgitation. Yeah, I only care if they remember the plot if it actually affects the things that they were supposed to know about the themes and ideas. Anyway, sorry, side tangent, but important. All right, so glaive it also has reach. It's and you do slashing damage. A halberd is a polearm on a stick, and I give this an additional option. I say that you can use slashing or piercing damage because they explicitly are an axe on a stick, so you could do either one. So that's the one bonus to a halberd. You could also use a spear. Doesn't have reach, but you can throw it. Same way with the trident. So a little bit less damage than those 2, but you can throw them. Any of those 4 are going to be good options, and I think they said quarterstaff as well. I don't remember, honestly.
Yeah, but I'm going to have some reach, and I'm going to be heading right into it. I mean, there are some situations where I could be far away and I would want to throw something. I'm going to go with halberd.
All right, halberd it is. There you go, Bonus Mom. Congratulations.
I made a decision.
And you've made a mechanically optimized character. So, I will say, since this is a 2-weapon, you're not going to be using a shield. You do have to use both hands to use this weapon. But I think you're going to be okay on that one. I am not worried about your character's ability to tank a hit. I think they are going to be just fine. All right. Also, this means you can think about your backstory. You can think about what you want to name them. We can think about all that kind of stuff. I can give you some ideas of gods and goddesses that might fit a little more, but that might be something that we talk about off stream. That we can
Let's talk about that off. We're going to talk about that off stream.
I'm more than happy to.
Going to think about the name. Going to think of the backstory. We'll talk about that off screen.
Absolutely. I think you have a very well optimized character here. In terms of mechanics, you do just about everything well. And my favorite is the biggest negative to a character with a negative wisdom is that perception bonus, but you gave yourself proficiency in it, which overcomes that. So you were even doing some optimizing if you didn't realize it. I might not be trying to make any animal handling checks. That might go a little rough. But overall, I think that you have a really solid mechanical character here. So
Well,
do you have any questions about your character or about the mechanics or about what a turn might look like or anything like that?
I don't at this point because I kind of need to assimilate all the information that you've given me because it's so much
I know, I hit you
mechanical
with a lot.
knowledge, and that's one of the things
Yep.
that I work with a little, that I struggle with a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about bugbears, and so I want a chance to
Yeah.
look into bugbears and really think
sure.
about it. You
Yeah.
know how again
And
yeah.
one of the good things about taking a little break is you can dump all the extra information since I hit you with 1.5 million bits of info about everything on the planet. You can ignore all that other stuff you don't need and come back to the stuff that actually matters.
But it's so good,
So
and
I'm
it's
more than happy to have another chat with you about it if you want to look
Okay,
forward.
great.
On or off stream, either way.
Yeah.
We can chat about this, figure out what your character's like, what they're gonna do. I think that you have a really, really solid character here, and I do want to point out once again, this halberd has a range of 15 feet. So that is 3. You could be, hey, you over there.
Well, I think I can tell you this. I think I'm going to choose a male character,
Excellent, yeah.
and this is going to be an angry guy. You
Yeah,
know,
I can see that.
Going to be an angry guy, has got something big. And I haven't played a lot of extremely, like, I know a lot of people in their backstory, you know, everybody in my tribe was killed and I'm the only one left or whatever. I have tended to stay away from that whole genre of things. I like a black story that's a little bit more convoluted than that. But you know what? This just screams for somebody who has PTSD really bad.
Yeah, that does, though. If you want to go away from that as well, I will say that this could be a really great time for, instead of loss, rejection. Sounds like the kind of person who, especially if he is a good character, I could say bugbears are often evil, very often evil. If you were kicked out and put away from that, especially if you had your bugbear compatriot to talk to, you can chat with him and see how you might want to play that. Maybe you two guys want to work together. Maybe not. That could also work too. Could have encountered each other. I think all of that could be really interesting. So you could go with the classic, you know, people have been wiped out, especially in the Underdark. That's unfortunately a very, very real possibility. You could go with being thrown out for any reason. Righteous anger, that's always great. Righteous anger could be fun. I think you have so many fun options with this, and I think the Zealot does really lead you to some fun role play as much as it does with the mechanics, and that's one of the fun things about it. I don't, I know that optimizers get a bad rep, and often deservedly so, if they are playing this like Warhammer, where it's just a game of numbers and dice roll. I think that this is you can do both. I think you can have your cake and eat it too here. This is a great example of a really interesting character.
One of the things that I think about, I was so eager for this to happen because I wanted to learn more about quote unquote min-maxing, about optimizing, whatever. And if you really look into that whole thing, you know, that little bit of a bad reputation, or maybe it's even a big bad reputation for min-maxers, what you probably find at the bottom of that is somebody who has built their character so strongly and cannot wait to get to do what the character does. They're a little bit out of control and over the top with it, which is a totally different thing from just how you build your character.
Oh, yes. And you know what? And I think I agree. And don't get me wrong. I do think that the power gamers do tend to attract that kind of personality. But I completely agree. I think the big thing that is bad player behavior as opposed to the concept of itself not working.
Yeah.
I have seen so many optimized characters that were super duper interesting in terms of their role play. I think this character is a perfect example of, trust me, there is not a weak thing about this character mechanically. The wisdom might be a little low, wisdom saves might be a little rough, but with the exception of that, and that's just a known weakness, every person has those, and that was something you picked. optimizer doesn't mean everything's perfect. It means you pick what you're going to be good at.
Yeah.
And the thing you're going to be good at, you are going to be good at. So this is a great optimized character with a ton of really fun backstory potential, and you don't have to sacrifice one for the other. And I already know darn well I'm not going to have to worry about problematic player behavior. So we just have a fun character that also can kick some butt, which is great because that means I get to throw harder monsters at you.
Oh boy. All right, this is what I'm hoping for. I think it would be awesome if you and I talked backstory together and we recorded it.
Absolutely.
Maybe we won't stream it, but let's record it, because that's the sort of thing that could show up later, but we wouldn't want to live stream. I'm also very interested, and maybe you do this at session 0, but if not, it'd be an opportunity for me to meet the bugbear, and we might want to record that one too in the same way. Just get together on Discord. I can record it through OBS, and then we have it if at some point we want to use it for something.
Yeah, so I think that so he's in that group chat that we created. You might just want to reach out to Pizza's the player who's going to be doing that. Reach out to Pizza, say that, hey, I picked a bugbear too. Do you want to go in and do something with this? And if the answer is yes, we could set up a time.
Okay, that sounds great. I would love it. And thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, and this could be done during a session 0, or we could do it separately. I'm good with whatever.
Okay. I think it would be totally cool, because I just am thinking about one of the things that we just love to do is teach, right? Is teach people, and we get people coming into our Discord and our family all the time that are like, I really want to do this and I don't know very much about it. Well, these are all opportunities to show how you do it and what the conversation is like.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I had a couple of people here looking at the chat. Someone else was saying, look at a tunnel fighter. It gives you the opportunity to take attacks without using a bonus action, which is always great. Right. And then, yes. So that will be fun. But yeah, and then you'll have the ability to pick up where the other bear, McRee says that you'll be there to pick up where the other bugbears fall short.
There you go.
Which is true. Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay, it'll be great. I'm really, really excited. I'm particularly glad I have some time to ponder and think, and I'll do some research on this thing and get it.
Absolutely,
now, in a way, I have to eliminate everything I didn't choose and focus on what I did choose.
So just use this character sheet. So use this character sheet. You'll have access to it as soon as we're done here. And you can go through here. All of that information is going to be here. You can look under features and traits. This tells you everything you need to know. All the way down even to the feat that you picked. It has everything. You don't have to look at any of the other pages. You can just stick here on the character sheet for all of the things that your character does. Okay, fantastic. And I will have access to it. How? Yeah, you have. Well, you will in a second. I'll show you how to claim it through D&D Beyond as soon as we get off air. Okay. All righty. Well, I think that thank you for everybody who stuck in. Thank you stuck with us. Thank you so much, Doc Robert. Thank you more than I can say for being willing to do this. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for this character. I am too. I'm excited for this adventure and getting to experience up from the abyss all the way through. This is quite. It is, isn't it, Mary? It's when you listen to people learn, and have it explained to you in detail. I'm glad that other people enjoy it. I know, listen, ranting about things that I talk about is what I get paid to do, so it's nice to do it about a different topic every once in a while. All righty, fantastic. Well, I'm going to go ahead, thank all of you all for being here, and I'm going to end the stream, and I'm not going to think about rating because I want to talk to Doc Robert a little bit before we go. So I am going to stop the stream and say thank you to everybody. You all take care. Have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you the next time. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. Bye.